LeBron is the greatest. With this context in mind, we can see the clear double standard that many media members create for LeBron. A lot of them go as far as to call him a top 5 player in the league. At worst, he's top 10. If a player of his stature is still considered a top 5 to 10 player, how would we react if they were guilty of doing the following in a 4-year span? Missing the playoffs, being the leader of the most disappointing team for the most storied franchise, getting bounced from the first round twice, being selected to the All-NBA third team twice, and failing to receive a single vote for the MVP in 2024. Wouldn't they all be crushed by the media? Wouldn't they all disqualify such player from ever being considered a top 5 player of all time, let alone the GOAT? They would do it for everyone except one person. If you were to mention the greatest teams of all time, your top 10 would surely include the 1996 Bulls, the 1986 Celtics, the 1987 Lakers, the 2001 Lakers, the 1971 Bucks, the 2014 Spurs, and the 2017 Warriors. Players such as Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, Steph Curry, and Tim Duncan were a part of historic teams. Shouldn't it mean something that the supposed greatest player of all time is not included on that list? Not even one time out of 21 seasons? LOL, this is a joke. The Miami Heat team is one of the 10 greatest teams, the 2013 team. His Cavalier championship makes that team one of the 10 greatest teams because they did something rarely, if ever, done in the finals against one of the other teams on your top 10 teams. Shaking my head, that's not true. We'll get to that. Shows that you was biased with your research. Do better. Okay, Jesus Christ. Let's go one by one. The 2013 Miami Heat team, I have mentioned in many videos, is now one of the 10 greatest teams of all time. And it should not be if playoff dominance is a factor for you. Going 16-7 in the postseason, when you're that much better than all the other teams in the Eastern Conference. Now, going 7 games against the San Antonio Spurs, I get it. We all know how great of a team that was and what they did to them in the following year. But against the Indiana Pacers, when Paul George isn't in his prime yet, you're being dominated by Roy Hibbert, a fringe all-star at best. All the real top 10 greatest teams of all time was dominant in the regular season and in the playoffs. The 2013 Heat did not check that box. Probably the biggest factor that you would consider when you're ranking the 10 greatest teams of all time. So no, they don't deserve to be in that list. That's considering the fact that Michael has played with one all-star teammate for his entire career. LeBron has played with 8. Seriously, what's the excuse for him not winning more? Michael's highs are clearly better. Numbers clearly favor Michael as the more dominant scorer. But if you're on the LeBron side of the debate, you would surely bring up that this has more to do with MJ's aggressive scoring nature. Michael was a volume scorer, while LeBron is a pass-first player. How many times have we heard this false narrative? I don't know what your definition of a pass-first player is. For me, it's someone who facilitates more than he shoots. It's someone who has more assists than field goals. That is something that cannot be said about LeBron. He has had 6 seasons of averaging over 20 field goal attempts. In what universe is that a pass-first player? That is the definition of a scorer's mentality. You don't get to be the all-time leader in points, field goal attempts, and missed shots if you're a pass-first player. That's not how it works. Yard Barker recently dropped an article listing the 25 greatest NBA rivalries of all time. Number 24. Get out of here. Get out of here with that. LeBron James versus Dwayne Wade. Look at that picture. Do they look like rivals to you? But how many times during their 4 regular season matchups each season did they embrace each other, hug each other for prolonged periods of time, just making it known to the world how much they love each other? Is that how rivals act? I mean, have you ever seen Michael do this? Would a pure shooter ever be guilty of this? The number of legendary moments is too much to say that he wasn't a great finals performer. But then you have all the all-time low moments. The 07 finals. Look, there's nothing wrong with getting swept at that stage of your career against that team. But averaging 35% from the field, because you're that bad of an outside shooter, you can't just say, well, that doesn't count. If you're good enough to lead a team to the finals, then you're expected, at the very least, to play adequately. That was just horrendous. Speaking of the 2007 finals, Manu Ginobili said that LeBron wasn't the best scorer back then. He was a great player, of course, but he wasn't the biggest threat. When has that ever been said about MJ? Manu was only being truthful. For that series, LeBron converted on 17.9% of his jump shots. They lost in the finals as the heavy favorites. It wasn't just the multiple bad games they had in the series against Dallas. Everyone is guilty of playing poorly in the finals. The problem was how passive and detached he was in critical moments in the fourth quarter. He kept deferring to his teammates even when he had favorable matchups. How else could you explain those performances other than some kind of mental block that he couldn't hurdle over? The 2011 finals is the very first thing that everyone brings up to build the case against him for being the GOAT. When you have that in your resume, you're automatically disqualified for being remembered as one of the 3 best finals performers. And I have a problem with the 2014 finals. Getting destroyed like that should absolutely count against him. You need to assess your team and say, hey, Dwayne Wade is now this version of the Flash, and Chris Bosh is still Chris Bosh. I need to do more than the standard LeBron James performance. And what did he do? He averaged 1.1 more points per game than the regular season. You're averaging 57% for the series. They obviously can't stop you. Be more aggressive. You are playing in their hand when you're not. I don't get it with him. How can Michael Jordan be the GOAT if he got bounced from the first round in 3 straight years? My GOAT never did that. Well, how the tables have turned. I'm old enough to remember what the narrative was after getting swept by this very team in the previous year. They were saying that if Jamal Murray wasn't playing out of his mind, Lakers would have made this series much more competitive. Well, they got their wish this time around. He shot 40% from the field and 29% from the 3. But the results were nearly the same. They suffered a gentleman's sweep. And now, we have what just happened recently. The Minnesota Timberwolves have eliminated the Lakers from the first round. Despite having home court advantage, despite having the best player of the series on their side, as well as another All-NBA player, they couldn't get past a team that so many people were saying would be eliminated in 5 games. Let's not act like people were saying that this very team was going to make it to the finals. If that was the expectation, then the word to use to describe what happened is that they choked. They had their opportunities to win these games. They couldn't get it done in big moments. That's not the only reason why they shouldn't be compared to each other. It's something that's more convincing than all the numbers that are out there. It's their mentality, specifically in the way they handle themselves among their star teammates. They both have had the fortune of playing with some stacked teams. Magic has played with supremely talented players such as Kareem, James Worthy, Jamal Wilkes, Norm Nixon, Bob McAdoo, and Byron Scott. LeBron has played with all-time great talent such as Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, and Carmelo Anthony. There is a huge difference in the experiences these players had when paired with LeBron or Magic. Dwayne Wade has expressed on multiple occasions that he needed to make sacrifices to play with LeBron. He needed to be less aggressive on offense and find other ways to be effective without the ball. Then there is Bosh, Love, and Westbrook, who needed to completely change their identity as players to fit in with LeBron. That caused a significant drop in their numbers, and they were nowhere near the same productive players in their new roles. The concept was always the same. He didn't sacrifice for you. You needed to sacrifice for him. It was the only way the team could strive. When has that ever been said about Magic Johnson? He's the one that finds a way to adapt to his teammates' strengths. He doesn't dominate the ball the way LeBron does. He will allow his teammates to shine, and he is more than willing to take a backseat on offense to his teammates. That is a fundamental difference between these two players. Magic can dominate without scoring. LeBron has never mastered this skill. He needs to score to be the best version of himself. 2022 Lakers are considered the most disappointing team in franchise history. They had 4 top 75 players on the same team. Yes, LeBron was injured and missed 26 games that year. That is something that is out of his control. What he could control was how he would integrate his new teammates into the system. He could have put his team in a better position to at least reach the playoffs in his absence. When he was healthy, he failed to do so. He went 25-31 for the games he played. They had a losing record even when he was on the floor. Even with all that talent, he did not make his team better. Getting injured doesn't save him from the failures that team experienced. The reason why I mention this is because this seems to be a pattern of behavior. This was not a one-time offense. Remember Game 5 of the 2010 semifinals against Boston, when he also wasn't aggressive on offense. Every so often, he has to fight those demons when things don't go his way in the playoffs. He would seem visibly frustrated and then check himself out of the series. That mindset of fighting till the end, of shooting until your bullet chamber is empty, is not something that can always be said about him.
Absolutely, I agree with that, but I also do think LeBron is angry about, not or upset about the Jordan comparisons. I do think he's tired. That's why
LeBron James is tired of the Michael Jordan comparisons. In 2018, he's talking about his 2016 championship. He's talking about coming back from 3-1 against the Warriors. And what does he say? That one right there made me the greatest player of all time. I thought he was chasing ghosts. Apparently, he made up his mind and he surpassed him at that moment. This is the most important and valuable player of the sport at that time. He knows this. He knows how much impact his words have. When he calls himself the greatest of all time, what are we supposed to do with that? How does he expect us to react? He's creating the narrative. He is giving us topics to discuss. And it started even before he played his first NBA game. He helped create this monster. LeBron has played all 82 games once in his career. Why is that? Does he get injured that much? Let's take a look at the evidence. Do you see those random games off that he's taking? We're looking at his game log from 2015, 2016, 2017, and beyond. Those were rest days, aka load management. This was something that he clearly participated in. The time is ticking now to get the most of him. You need to start building around him accordingly. And this is a long-term plan. You're not thinking about how we can build with Luka and LeBron. No, he is not a part of your future plans. You don't need him anymore. The idea of thinking that a 41-year-old player can be one of the driving forces of a championship-winning team is beyond stupidity. The expectation when you're a player of his caliber is to win multiple titles. One isn't enough if you want a statue outside the arena. He did not reach those expectations. This isn't Kobe Bryant or Magic Johnson, who were lifelong Lakers, who gave you 5 titles apiece, where you owed them and the fans for them to retire with that same team. He is nowhere near their level. But we don't have to go that deep. It all boils down to this. What Michael accomplished in a short period is more than what LeBron has done while playing basketball for over 2 decades. We're talking about Jordan winning 2 more titles, 2 more Finals MVPs, 1 more regular season MVP, and 9 more scoring titles. He still has the lead on that while playing in less than 5,000 career games, including the playoffs. With all that information, we can draw the logical conclusion that Michael Jordan was a superior player at his peak.